once you get to know Luli, there's never going to be another person like Luli in your life because this is a juggernaut, right? So she does so many wonderful things. She had her own firm. She, in a world where men dominated, she made it. And now she's just changing the world, changing how women think about themselves, changing how men think about themselves. She's a great mentor to me as well. You can see her all over the place, but today she's live and she's taking of her time. She's very busy and going through a lot of things for you. So I want to give her a round of applause first. And thank you.
Thank you for the invitation. So I'd like to think of myself as an oxymoron. I'm a punctual Cuban. So I'm going to have my timer set up here, and I'm going to do the millennial thing and have the digital. So I'm going to just set that up to make sure that I stay on point. So when I was 3 years old, I had an imaginary friend. Her name was Mita, and she worked at Burdines. And she worked in the makeup department, in the cosmetics department. And I would call her. I would use 324-8811, and that was the number that you would call before you even needed area codes and before there was a place to find out what the real time and temperature was. You would call that number and you would get time and temperature. But for me, that was my communication with my imaginary friend, Mita. Mita was in her 40s, had gorgeous auburn, gorgeous hair, red nails, red lipstick, impeccable, beautiful woman. And I remember being at my great aunt's house on a blue phone that connected to the wall, and I would be on that phone for what I considered to be hours, having conversations with who I knew was my imaginary friend. What I now realize as an adult is the beauty of the skills, the talents, and the gifts that I have been given as a child. And I'm grateful that my parents played along with this fairy tale I had created of my imaginary friend Mita. Because you see, you had to leave space in the car for Mita. You had to make lunch for Mita. The phone line was busy for hours at a time because Luli was speaking to Mita. My mom went so far as to go to the pediatrician and say something is wrong with my child because she's speaking to nobody. And the pediatrician said, you need to play along because this is a sign of creativity and intelligence. And thankfully, my mom did. As I grew older, I started choreographing dances with my sister and my 2 cousins. And I choreographed those dances, and of course, I was the one in the middle. I was the Gloria Estefan when we did a Gloria Estefan routine. I was in the center, and everybody else was my backup. Again, all these traits and all these skills that as a young child, we don't always acknowledge or recognize. You see, Luli has always been creative and brilliant. She's also really stubborn, which has turned into boldness. Nothing scares me. And if it scares me, I still go after it because I have incredible perspective. I have a zest for life. And I love nothing more than to bring joy into people's lives and make valuable connections. So today, 20 years into my business, I realize that I get to experience life with so much joy because I get to do every day something that I love. There's this quote that says, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And while I respect that quote, I work very hard for what I do. But I don't work as hard as most people because I enjoy what I do. In fact, I don't think it's a job or my work, it's my vocation. It's what I was put on this earth to do. And that comes at a price. It comes at big prices sometimes, but I'm grateful because I know that I am fulfilling my purpose on this earth. I get to use my creativity, my imagination, my inspirational abilities, my ability to connect immediately with a human being and make valuable connections to you and bring you value and bring you joy almost immediately after meeting me. So now I'd like to ask you, What lights you up? What is that thing that if I told you you can't do this the rest of your life, you would say, I'd rather die, Luli? So for me, it's talking. If you told me you can't talk anymore, it's like, just kill me now. Like, just kill me now. Like, talking. So for me, it's having conversations, making valuable connections, bringing joy to people's lives. If you told me I couldn't do those things anymore, you'd be cutting off my arms and my legs. So I'd like for you to think about, Alex gave you a couple of things that he wanted you to think about. So I'd like to add on to that to-do list of what are the things that light you up? What's the thing that brings you the most joy? And what if I told you that you could make money doing that? I wake up every morning and I sometimes have to pinch myself. I'm like, I get to do this for a living. I get to play and inspire and speak in front of people and change people's lives, because here's the thing. I work on empowering women and I help women create businesses around their lifestyle and around their family priorities. I get to bring confidence back into women's lives. I get to give them the tools and the resources to build a lifestyle business. But here's what's really magical about what I do. I don't only impact that woman and her business, I get to impact her family. I get to impact her community. I get to impact the people that she hires. So I get to be a part of a ripple effect. So my question to you is, not only what lights you up, but what is your ripple effect? How do you want to make that impact? And how do you want people to feel after working with you or after interacting with you? So I'll share with you a couple of things that I know to be true about my own success and where I've been and where I am today and where I'm going in the future. Things that I didn't necessarily strategize or make these like my markers for success, but I realized after preparing to chat with all of you that these are things that helped me be as successful as I am today. And the first one is, you get to define success. Nobody else is going to define your own success. So you see, when my children that are now 11 and 13, when they were 2 years old and 6 months old, I had this brilliant idea after working in corporate America for 10 years that I was going to start my own marketing agency in the name of work-life balance. Has anybody ever heard that term before? Mm-hmm. And so I was going to have this marketing agency because then I could create my own schedule and I could be, incredible in all the roles that I play in my life because I was going to have work-life balance. Well, a few years into my business, it's about to hit $1 million in gross revenue. And I am miserable because I am exhausted. And it's really coming at a toll in my family. The 3 people that I created this business for. And I learned it the hard way, and I have the bumps and bruises and scrapes and scars to prove it, but I'm so grateful for that experience. Because as a result, I wrote a book about work-life balance. I restructured that entire business, and when I was on the floor bleeding, going, what the heck have I created? I got right back up and I said, what have I learned from this? How am I going to move forward? And how am I going to use my talents, my abilities, my skills, and my experience to make a difference? And that's exactly what I did. So that would be my next lesson. Is whenever you're on the floor, get back up and ask yourself the question, what's the lesson in this? My friend Tony Robbins says all the time, life happens for you. It doesn't happen to you. So when you are on the floor bleeding, when you feel like you failed, when you feel like things haven't turned out the way that you wanted, ask yourself the question, how is this happening for me? Because it doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. The next thing is, you're always networking and people are always watching. I remember South Beach Wine and Food Festival, that was a client of my marketing agencies, that today, even though I hardly have any clients for the marketing agency, South Beach Wine and Food Festival continues to call me back. This was about 8 years ago. I was working with what was their toughest sponsor at the time. I had no idea. This woman was so nasty. She was yelling at me. No matter what I did to accommodate her, she just had have you ever worked with someone like that? You're just like, man, are you really that angry all the time? Just trying to make it work, trying to be accommodating. Let's figure something out. And she was just so negative and just not having it. And I remember the associate director of the festival came up to me and said, Luli, I cannot believe the way that you handled that. And I said, I was really like surprised. I'm like, isn't that the way we're all supposed to handle it? But he was really impressed. And then he said to me, I remember last year at another event when I yelled at you. I'm like, you yelled at me last year? It was some silly thing that had happened with a poster that hadn't arrived, and I had come up with a great solution. And I said to him, I looked at him and I said, you yelled at me last year? I don't even remember. He looked at me and said, I never forgot. I was so mean to you and I was so angry, and you were so focused on the solution, you didn't let it get to you. And you see, that associate director came back and hired my agency for triple the following year, triple what we were getting paid, triple the responsibility, because he saw in me something that I could not have put on a resume, on a bio, on a referral, on anything. Because you're always networking. People are always watching. My business has been created and built on my reputation, on my integrity, and my credibility. My name is everything, and nobody will touch it. Nobody will touch it, because that is the most important thing I have in my business. So people are always watching, and you're always networking. It's not always going to be in this formal venue. It can be at a nightclub, believe it or not. It could be at a backyard barbecue. And my favorite way to network is to ask someone about themselves. As much as I love to talk, I love to start a conversation, meeting you and understanding where you are and how I can serve you. Because I do believe that in giving we receive. I also believe that in receiving we give. In receiving we give. And so what ends up happening is, because I've taken the time to understand you, I can make those meaningful connections to you. I can give you those resources. And whether it's you or someone else, I believe in karma, and God has a beautiful way of blessing me back. I don't worry about whether or not you're going to give me anything in return. And so it's a great way to network, is to ask that person about themselves and how you can serve them. Or ask them questions like, what's the favorite part of your job? What lights you up? What's exciting about being a part of this organization? I remember applying for a job way back in the day before becoming an entrepreneur, applying for a job at FIU, and I had to sit through interviews with 6 academics, okay? And I was up against 23 or 24 people. I hardly did any talking in those interviews. Why? To Taylor's point, I knew the audience. I knew academics love to talk about themselves, and I knew that they had research, so I researched them. And in my interview, all I did was talk to them about their research. Dr. Reynolds, I love your research on entrepreneurship in Finland. Tell me more about what you found fascinating of the entrepreneurs in Finland. So the 10 minutes of the 12 minutes that I was with Dr. Paul D. Reynolds, one of the most prestigious professors in the world of entrepreneurship, the man spoke 10 of the 12 minutes of my interview. And he got up and shook my hand and he said, this was amazing. You're just so brilliant. I can't wait to have you on our team. Because all I did was know my audience and know that that's what he wanted. Something else is to manage up. And Taylor alluded to this, and so did Alex. Don't wait to be told what to do. Now, I'm not saying be disrespectful and be bossy or intimidating, but what I'm saying is anticipate. Anticipate. Just 2 days ago, I was speaking at a bank, and the woman, it was a women's luncheon. She brought her 21-year-old daughter that was about to start an internship. And she said, do you have any words of wisdom for my daughter? And I looked at her and I said, manage up. And she goes, what does that mean? And I said, I'm going to tell you. I said, anticipate. Anticipate. Don't wait to be told or asked what to do. Try to be 2 or 3 steps ahead. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to be told no. And don't take it personally. God, we take everything so personally. And I get it because, man, I have a giant heart. And I've been told that my heart is probably sometimes too big. But I don't mind that. I think that's a good problem. But I also realize that I can't take it personally because it's not personal. And it's the only way that we can grow. It's the only way that we can grow. So don't be intimidated by the no, and anticipate what you can do to solve problems or be ahead of the game. Lastly, surround yourself with multipliers. Surround yourself with people that are going to call you out on your BS. Surround yourself with people that are going to push you, that are going to call you out on when you're not working hard, when you're not doing enough, but those people are also going to celebrate you and call you and say, you're a badass for what you just did. That was amazing. I'm proud of you. So I do this exercise a lot with my audiences. You can take a sheet of paper and you can do this when you get back home, because I'm a punctual Cuban and I want to be on time. So you can take a sheet of paper and you can divide it into 4. And you can put addition, subtraction sign, division, and multiplication sign. And then make a list of the top 20 people in your life. The 20 people that you interact with the most. And then you put them in one of these quadrants. And you may need to burn the sheet afterwards so that nobody sees the evidence. But determine where these people fit in your life. So the adder is someone that adds to your life, right? They're the good people to have around. But the multiplier, I like to think of the multiplier when something amazing happens in your life and you grab your phone to call someone. Who is that person? That's a multiplier. The multiplier is the one that's like, dude, why'd you wake up at 10 a.m.? We were at the gym at 8. Why didn't you show up? Or, again, calling you out. I was scared to do this. Well, why are you doing that? Let's get it together. That person that gives you the tough love, that calls you out and that supports you and loves you no matter what. Then we have the subtractor. Subtractor is the person that really just kind of drains you a little bit. They really don't add anything to your life, but the divider. Beware of the divider. And here's what's so incredible about this exercise is that we all have them in our lives. And we also have the power to eliminate them immediately from our lives. These are the people that drag us down. The one-upper. So you say, I'm going to Barcelona for 3 days, and they're like, oh, I'm traveling all around Spain for a month. And it's like, we're not talking about you, we're talking about me, right? That person that no matter what cannot be genuinely happy for you, cannot experience that joy with you. That person that just drags you down like an anchor. That person that when you ask them, how was your day? Every single day for weeks and months at a time, they come into the office like this. Well, and then they proceed for 7 minutes to tell you about everything that has happened wrong in their life in the last 2 hours since they woke up. That's a divider. The person that calls you, and as soon as you see that it's them, you go, oh God. That's a divider. So ladies and gentlemen, again, I want to recap by sharing with you that each and every one of us has gifts. We have skills, talents, and abilities. And it is our duty, not our choice, to share them with the world. Whatever it is, I don't care what they are. It is your duty to use them. And to remember that you're always networking. It's not always in formal situations. And that you have the power to bring joy to people's lives, that you can serve. And that karma is a beautiful thing because people are always watching. To take yourself a little bit more lightly, to enjoy life and realize that you can work doing something that you absolutely love. In fact, if you do not love what you are doing, quit immediately and find something that you love. Or use your job as leverage, as that paycheck, to then do something that you love, because you deserve to experience joy every single day of your life. And lastly, surround yourself with multipliers. And if you don't have enough multipliers in your life, find them, recruit them, and fire those dividers. They don't belong in your life. Time is your biggest, most precious commodity, and dividers should not have any time in your precious life, because you deserve joy. Thank you.